Welcome to the Wellness Pulse with Monica Stevens. From CPR to self care, staying in rhythm with your well being. Thanks for tuning in. All right, welcome, Lindsay Benz from Preston Products. Good day to you.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I'm so excited as we continue with the I guess homage I wanted to pay to CPR during this is in honor of CPR week, National CPR week. So I was really excited to have you here to talk to me a bit about Preston Products and just kind of more about Preston. I love Preston Products, and I love teaching CPR and educating, so this is pretty cool to be able to speak with people in the industry and who are affected by what we do. So today I'm hoping that we're going to get to talk about, some products, why, the
Yes,
when, the what, the who, and what I mean, to have some good conversation.
absolutely. Yes, we're
Okay,
excited to be
awesome.
here.
I'm so excited to have you. So, for those of you who don't know, Lindsay is the director of global marketing for Preston. So that means Lindsay gets to interact with clients or maybe not clients. You tell me what it means. You tell me.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been with Preston now for almost 6 years, working in a marketing role. I support our distribution network and also have the privilege of being able to connect with instructors like yourselves, end users, nonprofits, industry organizations. And so it's just an honor and privilege to be able to have the opportunity to share our message and, be able to build on the relationship that we've started through meeting at different events in the industry and just we're excited to have the opportunity.
It is. It's really exciting to be able to, really connect with
Yes.
people, like, with businesses. I mean, I was truly tickled. Of course, I love the Life Saving Summit.
Yes.
We sometimes, Miranda, she refers to that as, see, it's like CPR Christmas. I just love the way
Yes.
she uses it. And so I've like stole that one. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving, if you will, if you're in
It
this.
does. I mean, this is a classic example, right? We met there several years ago. We've seen each other each year, and now we're working together and doing some really great things that add value and kind of give back, I think, to the industry. So I think that's what's so important to Preston. While we do sell through distribution, we don't sell anything direct.
Right.
Sometimes we're 2 or 3 steps removed from the instructor, from the people that are actually using our products. And
Hmm.
that's why those industry events are so important to us. So we use that time to do focus group sessions to really understand how our products are being used in the industry, what people like, what they don't like. And we're always looking for where those gaps exist, where we can add value and bring, new advancements to help you do your job. I mean, everything we do is around building confidence. That's what
Yes.
Preston, everything we do revolves around that. So whether it's, and our ultimate goal is to be able to build confidence in a student who has been trained to do CPR or use an AED in the classroom. And so, our role is developing realistic products that are going to be easy to use, comfortable to use, not intimidating, but they're going to build confidence in that short time while people are there learning from you, the instructor. So we hope to build confidence in you all as well as instructors by delivering durable equipment, reliable, affordable solutions. Everything we do, we're thinking about the student and the instructor when we're designing, when we're, refining, whether it's a
Yeah.
design or a feature or where we're headed next. It's so important. So
It definitely is, and it's cool. I'm not like a huge um business yet. But so I guess what I was going to say is the durability, because I have my some of my original Prestons that are still in working order.
yes.
Some of them I do need to do a little repair. I had to get the
Yep.
little boxy thing for some of them, but I do think durability, and I think also I don't know, maybe other instructors don't care about things like this, but it's really cool to like full circle it because I can remember, wanting like transitioning to, the Preston mannequins, like, oh wow, they look more realistic, they
Yeah.
have more lights. And if you've ever been to one of my classes, I always make jokes about how I wanted to be an actress. And so I would like role play. I always, I'm always, yes, let's role play it. I
Yes.
love when a
Yes.
student like over embellishes and
Yeah.
not to distract, but to add a little spice to the class
Sure.
of that. And I make them make noises like when we're doing the abdominal thrust, like get
Yes.
involved,
Yeah.
speak up, get involved. And so the person's really, you know what I mean, where it's kind of like a flex, like and the lights will let you know if you're going the right rate.
That's
And
right.
you
That's
know,
exactly what we want to do. It's funny, so going way, way, way back, and we'll get to the history in a little bit, but, our team took a lot of time early on really understanding, like, how do for the most part, how do adults learn?
mhm,
And, they were going into classrooms and watching, equipment that was, being used at that time. And we know from both studies and from probably all of our own personal experiences, adults don't typically like being called out that they're doing something wrong, especially in a group of people, right? Like, so, you over there, you're doing that wrong. It's like, oh, no. So, and then it creates anxiety and a level of uncomfort, so, or discomfort. So, um, the Preston mannequins were really designed to be intuitive, self-correcting. I mean, for those that have used them, they'll understand. You get your hands
yeah,
on the chest, you get your placement right, and you start compressing hard and fast, and you're going to hear a click to know that you're going deep enough. And you're going
right,
to see a light system telling you if you're going too fast, too slow. We always say green is good. The two green
right,
lights is what you're trying to get. And it's
yeah,
surprise it was surprising to me early on, but it's become kind of the norm now, I guess, and what I see. But it doesn't take long for people to see those lights, get the feel of the compressions, and then it becomes muscle memory. And it's like, you're a pro at this. And then just see the people's confidence level go from like truly 0 to sometimes 100. Hopefully, that's the goal within a
yeah,
matter of 20, 30 minutes while they're learning these compressions. It's really exciting. I have an example. I was at a large school event. It was all
hmm,
the teachers, administrators, they came in, and I was listening to the conversation. I was kind of in the corner. Nobody was really excited about being there. They were all kind of like nervous, you could tell, because
yeah,
they were, it was a big event. There were hundreds of mannequins on the floor. Um, and then I kind of walked around while they were learning their compressions, and they were like feeling so confident about themselves, having a good like, just feeling good about like, okay, now I know, like, I used to be nervous about this, and now I know this skill. It's, hard and fast and getting that rate. And then, once they gain that confidence, it's like, go out and tell your friends, your neighbors, your, family members, you need to be trained to build that confidence, because we all know, doing something is better than doing nothing. And we don't want people to hesitate if they have the unfortunate event and being in a situation where they need to perform CPR or go get the AED. So, um, that goes back to, what you were saying, the realism is so important to us, because, they need to feel confident about those skills so that if it ever happens, they know what to do, they act fast, and they act with, top
yes,
level skills. Like they,
definitely.
yeah, yeah.
They're empowered like superheroes or superpowers
Exactly.
that they are.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I have to say, I think I am a sentimental person. So I think the fact that my Prestons have been, I've taken them to church, I've taken
Oh,
them to the
love it.
beach. And like I said, it was kind of like, um, I felt like I had moved up. And so now I have seen like, so I'm kind of like, what more do I need? You know what I'm saying? Like, so people enjoy the lights, but I have
Yeah.
seen there are some, other mannequins, but I
Yes.
just am a little bit like, partial to, I guess, the way my person's look and the way they feel,
Yes.
like the weight of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I have, you know what I mean? Of course, you're in the business, like, and then being around other instructors, just trying to like, oh, okay, keep abreast of other products. But
Right.
what I've always, Preston, I can say it's a little Preston kudos, but I can say they have definitely helped me empower many over the years, because I've used them in a lot of role play. I was really
Yeah.
excited about the female. In
Yes.
fact, I just wanted to make sure that I was doing my part to educate. I don't always, sometimes you trip up on statistics. So I'm not always toting, I love it. Like some of us are real good with our statistics, and I'm not
Yeah.
bad if I read them, but sometimes like we're inundated. But
Oh, yeah,
girl,
absolutely.
I took my girl with me. We've been going right now.
I love it.
In fact, so the fact that I take her to class, she showed up actually yesterday with no shirt on.
Uh-huh. Yes,
And
good.
well, no, she's supposed to wear a shirt. She has on her bikini top. She showed
Yes.
up to class no shirt.
Well, that's just the thing. I mean, we're jumping a little ahead, but talking about the female, that's truly why we brought it. I mean, we want to get over that shock, that fear, that hesitation in the
Mhm.
classroom so that if your wife or your mother, your grandmother, your daughter, or even a stranger who is female has a sudden cardiac arrest event, that you're not hesitating and you're not waiting and that you're not scared to do something. We need to get over that in the classroom, have the conversation, and like you said, kind of empower those bystanders to act. Know that I'm not, gonna get in trouble for performing CPR on a woman. There are, good Samaritan laws in place to protect me. I'm if I'm not doing any harm. And the compressions. I mean, we'll get into this more, I'm sure, as we talk more product. But I love that people are getting exposed to this now in the classroom.
Me too, because honestly, I didn't think about it as a due to my own anatomy, I frequently talk about breast, and I've
Right.
always talked about breast in the class, about
Yes.
who have breasts on their back, they left, they right.
Yeah.
And that's that. But as I've grown as an instructor and even teaching things like outside of, CPR and
Hmm.
first aid and, emergency skills, when you're exposed to different cultures and different, walks of life, and the way that people handle sexuality or gender differences or
Yeah.
gender inequality,
Hmm.
um, you become more aware because
Yeah.
when it comes to mental health and maybe sex, I was awakened, or
Mhm.
it was brought to my attention the way that that could be some hangups, because if you have like a counselor or somebody from you know maybe a more restrictive train of thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that put me in line with, what I mean? Those might be people who are more apprehensive, what I mean, or that type of climate for, not giving CPR to women because of the breast. And, it's so odd because like here in America, breasts get you into places, you know what I mean? We've got Mardi Gras, usually your breasts are not inhibitive of things, men think we get preferential treatment with speeding tickets and blah 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 blah, but here it's actually a disadvantage. So I have been making a point to, yeah, sometimes she does show up topless, and I was actually somewhere, and you know what I mean, it definitely, other people, almost somebody in almost all the classes relates to how, yeah,
Yeah.
like they're not surprised that somebody might be apprehensive about giving the CPR to a.
Yes. Yes. It is shocking. I mean, there are statistics out there and we'll share them here in a minute, but um, the female really did come to light and really it motivated us to get a solution out there for you, the instructor, and ultimately the students through conversation with instructors, kind of going back to those focus groups and what are you doing? And, we're not in the classroom, every day
Mhm.
of the week, like some of you all are. So we heard over and over again that, I'm making the number up, but let's call it 8, 9 times out of 10, someone almost always raises their hand in a class and says, well, what if this happened to me, a female, or what if this happened to my grandma or my mom? Like, what would be different? And so we all know the answer. It's not different. But then it's like, it's just a conversation.
Mhm.
There has historically been no opportunity to be exposed to the female anatomy. Place
Yeah.
your hands. You are going to have to touch the breast. When you put the AED on, you are going to have to remove the clothes, cut off the bra, sometimes lift the breast to apply the AED pad. And that can be uncomfortable. And we can talk about it and we can all say, oh, yeah, we would do that. Of course we would. But if it's not your family member, like, would you really do it?
Well, it's because I'm a registered nurse, but with that being
You're a
said,
nurse, right?
It is funny because, with with the female, there are times lately where I've had, like I was like, "Oh my god, I just palmed her whole boob," or
Yeah, and,
you know?
she wants you to do that. She's dead. She wants you to give her a chance at life. I mean, it was shocking. I think it's so shocking to people. 39% of women receive bystander CPR compared to 45% of men. And what that translates to is men have a 23% higher chance of survival versus a woman. I mean, it's just not acceptable,
No, it's not.
in a day and time where, like, our society, at least here in the United States, I believe is around a 50-50
Mhm,
percentage of female versus males. And in the classroom, up until a couple of years ago, when we introduced what we called the female accessory, and now we have a full realistic female mannequin.
which is
Yeah, there
okay.
she is. The classroom was essentially 100% male torsos. So, these while the statistics are surprising, it's kind of like, are they really? Because no one's being trained, no one's having the conversation. People are scared. They're afraid they're going to hurt a woman. There's all these fears and myths. I'm going to hurt her. I'm going to get sued if I touch her chest. Do I go, not as deep and fast because she could be frail or fragile, or maybe that's, and you got to get over that in training. And so again, that's why we brought the female to the market. Um, Everything we've brought to the market through the years, there has been a reason behind it. And I know you want to kind of talk about the history. Um, so Preston was founded in 2004. So we've been in business now for over 20 years. We're
Mhm,
located in northeastern Ohio, so just in a suburb right outside of Cleveland.
mhm.
You've visited us, which was
I have.
amazing. You and your mom. We had a lovely visit here not too long ago, and we
Did.
welcome that. I mean, over the last couple years, we moved into a larger space. Our corporate headquarters moved, and now we have the opportunity to bring people in and have a great meetings and conversations about product, and again, the why we do what we do, and let's collaborate, and how can we build these relationships. And then we have the opportunity to kind of show you what we do behind the scenes in our assembly and operations areas. And so um, we now have customers in over 70 countries worldwide. We've grown through the years, and now we've got distribution facilities. Everything we do is sold through distribution, so we don't sell direct. And again, that's why these conversations are so important,
Yeah.
connecting with folks in the industry and the people that are using our products. We have a mailing list. We try to do focus groups and surveys, and we
Mhm,
love our info line. We love to hear from folks like yourselves, people using our products. That's the only way we'll ever know what we're doing right, what we're doing, or what we could be doing better, and then what you need to do what you do. So um, it's important to us. And all of our just, fun facts, I guess, all of our CPR training mannequins are made here in the USA. We're the only CPR training mannequin manufacturer that is the case. So we've historically, our distributors appreciate our ability to get things to them quickly. We
mhm.
don't have supply chain issues to deal with, coming from overseas and things of that nature. And so we have that unique advantage as well. So those are, some of the just high level info about Preston. And then kind of going to product, I know, like, as I said, you wanted to kind of talk about timelines. So the original Preston mannequins, the one that you, I think, are using still today, you referred to, you still have some of the
Yeah,
originals. I mean, we've seen some of them out there. Some people have those
mhm.
original lots of Preston adult mannequins, lights in the shoulder, the click in the chest. That is the flagship product still to this day, for sure.
It is. You
Um,
can't be
you talked about the realism, it's anatomically correct. You know, I have one here. I don't know if you want to do like a little show and tell or whatever, but here's the Preston mannequin. It's got a shirt on right now, but you can see it's realistic. It's not intimidating. This happens to be the female.
right?
So, we've got an anatomically correct design with moldable parts that allows you to, like I said before, lift the breast, apply the AED pad, things like that. We also have so through the years we started with the adult.
Mhm.
We brought an infant. This is our infant professional.
Mhm.
So we've got the lights here in the diaper
Yep.
and the click in the chest.
Yep.
Little infant. And people like this. We see the infant used not only in CPR training, but we'll
Mhm.
see it used for like new parent classes,
Mhm.
maybe where they're not even getting into CPR. We see it being used in babysitting classes, a lot of different things.
And I actually, unique opportunity, but it, of course, was you'd never get pictures of it. But in corrections, actually, there was a interesting situation where a young lady was going to give birth, actually, and
Yeah.
so she was not down with going to a medical facility, and
Okay.
they needed a mannequin to try to, like train the staff. Like, okay, well, if she goes into labor, you
Oh
know
my
what I
gosh.
mean? So
Yeah.
that actually was an instance too.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And then I just wanted to kind of go back to we rounded out the whole series. It's hard to tell here, but there's also a child.
Was it up to the child?
Yeah. So a little smaller torso, childlike features. So that
I'm
was
not.
the original. It was the professional, not the female, obviously. It was a flat-chested male mannequin. And then over time, we brought out the AED trainers. So we've got a professional, and I'm not sure if you use any of these or familiar. Got to figure out how this works. But this is our professional trainer, really designed to emulate the large OEM trainers out or AEDs out in the market, making an affordable solution so instructors like yourselves can get multiple AED units in the classroom. We have a unique pad sensing system on these AED pads where I'll show you. This is one of our kind of patented technologies. This
Mhm.
sensing technology, when it's applied to the torso of the mannequin, automatically moves to the next step within the AED scenarios and makes it very lifelike and real. And again, it's so interesting. Even a unit like this, I've seen be very intimidating in a class. They're like, "Oh, it's not going to shock me, is it?" Or, "Oh, it's not."
Yeah.
And I've seen some. I mean, when we go to some of these awareness events, and it's so cool to see some of these folks like bringing out a live AED and exposing it, putting it on a chest. People have, we really want people to get over that fear and over the
Yes.
fact that like, oh, I thought only trained professionals, medical professionals could touch and use an AED. That's what we hope to be able to get these out there. This is our lower cost, compact, more affordable solution. We see a lot of these out here too. It's you can see the child. You is this the one you use? Yeah, we've got a child.
I actually, yeah, I use and somebody actually, well, somebody from, not to cut you off on the
No,
AED,
it's fine.
out. She in a class I was just at, she said she said, I want one like that. And I said, I'm not sure if they make this exact model. I said, but I'll look, into getting you one that is small like that. Because
Yeah,
actually, like you say, I like to educate kind of, AEDs, and the fact just like, hey, these are actually like programmed for a sixth grader to be able to operate.
right. Yes, it
And so
tells
I
you
always try
exactly
to,
what to do.
yeah, what to
Right.
do, like try to take the intimidation out of it. So I
Yes.
usually like to try to show more than one style during my class.
Yeah.
There's so many out there. And I find that although and so here's a little feedback.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
You guys make the Zoll trainer, which I was really excited to get, because it's good looking and it's got this display and it's all fancy
Yeah,
schmancy. It's cumbersome. Um, I don't enjoy, actually, it's hard to articulate to my students, keep what you're doing, put the AED around them and teach them to take that apart.
yeah,
So I now actually use that more as a display for
yeah.
me. And I actually use the one, I might actually get the one, I like the paddles on the professional version, but the little one is so lightweight, and then that's
It
exactly
is.
in
To get
my,
them out there, and it is it's, more affordable, so you can have more in the classroom, so people
yeah,
aren't waiting their turn, you could have, maybe 4 of these or 5 of the maybe even 6,
yeah.
7 of these, to every one of, the OEM trainers. That's really the intent. And to your point, we designed it to be simple,
Mhm.
but also reflect the realism. And so
Right.
it's very much like using a
Mhm.
OEM, Zoll type trainer or AED. But yeah, so there's options even within the Preston line. Some people like the professional because it is larger, it has the lid, it
Yeah.
feels more like a live, AED. But then this one also has just, as many features and abilities to run through various scenarios, multiple languages. You can get them dual language. So, and those things all have come over time, as we learn and there's, more opportunity for exposure, in different parts of the world and things like that. We've got a whole host of different languages that they
I'm Monica Stevens with People's Choice CPR and Safety. Did you know that having an AED can save someone's life in under 5 minutes? Let us help your business, organization, church, or school choose the right AED. Click the link in the notes section.
That's kind of the whole professional line, a little bit of our AED trainers. I think a unique line. Now I know that you love your professionals,
You
but
know,
through the years, we know there are various training scenarios. You've got
mhm,
the medical, the pre and in hospital, and you've got um, the general bystander training, and you've got folks like independent instructors going out into the community and trying to create awareness and things like that. And that's really where this, what we call the ultralight
right.
design, came into play. So what's really unique about the ultralight line is it's kind of like almost like a modular, I guess you could call it. It's compact, it's hollow. So when you take this apart, the piston comes. It's so easy. The piston comes out, the torsos all stack, these
Yeah.
heads come off, and they compact one into another. And you can get a pack of 12 in a roller case. And so you can roll up at an event with a couple roller cases and have a whole event or a class of 24. And so that's the real intent behind that. It's much more affordable as well. So if you're a newer instructor and you're
Mhm.
not really sure if this is going to be your thing for a long time, or you're how much you're willing to invest, it's an affordable solution to get you started. We still have the lights in the shoulder. I don't know if you can see those little
Yeah.
lights.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, lights in the shoulder, but it's a more affordable, compact solution. And
And that
then if you're still wanting to represent the female in training, that's where the female accessory came. So that's another option to represent the female if you're using the ultralight line.
that is, yeah, that is really, really creative
Yeah.
because, you know, again, because I can be kind of, I don't know, sometimes with certain things, I can kind of be brand kind of,
Yes.
and I've been teaching, and I've been using Preston mannequins for a long time, probably. Let's see. What did you guys come now? Did I read on the internet? Did you guys make products before you made mannequins too, or was it always
So
mannequins?
there are a few folks that are still owners and very active in our organization. Both our CEO and our COO have a life and lots of experience prior to Preston in this industry for sure. So a lot of their learnings, a lot of the people, a lot of just everything we do is kind of, that foundation definitely did come before the Preston mannequin that today.
Oh no, I meant that was I love the
Yeah.
way you answered that. But I meant like even I actually meant to ask you this. Even as Preston, like but when Preston products first came, they always were offering mannequins. They weren't
Oh,
offering
yes, yes. We've forever been mannequin, and then, over time, as I talked, it's really the professional mannequin, the adult that we showed you earlier, lights in the shoulder, click in the chest. That's
yeah.
the very first mannequin, and it still exists today, and it's truly the flagship product, and then we just built the offering around that, infant, child, and then most recently, a female. Then the ultralight series came, again, just to meet that need in the industry. It really became a great offer. And this, it wasn't necessarily intended and designed for this, but when COVID happened and we all went remote and you weren't able to hold a class, right, of like,
Yeah.
6, 8, 10 people, you weren't able to have that
Yeah.
many people in a room, or we were social distancing. Those were great solutions because they're lightweight, they're affordable. Some instructors kept their businesses going by shipping out, single units of the ultralight, getting on a
Mhm.
Zoom call like this,
Yeah.
having their class, and you can see when people are doing their compressions, you position your camera, you can see the lights, you can hear the click, and they're like, you've got it, so
Yeah.
it's actually allowed us to keep things active and moving. And there are some programs still to this day that have remote training offerings, and the ultralight is a great solution, as well as the ultra trainer. And so we'll see people pairing those two because they're lightweight, they're still high quality. It's easy to see if the student is doing the skill right. So that's where that came from. And then fast forward to within the last few years, we brought more of an advanced offering to the market. It's called the Series 2000. And
Right.
so it basically, the foundation of that mannequin, it's the same, design structure of the professional. It just allows for advanced feedback by pairing through Bluetooth to an app on an
Mhm.
Apple or Android device. So, in addition to depth and rate, you can get recoil, hands off time, ventilation feedback, and the app calculates chest compression fraction. So, it allows us to offer more, information, more feedback, both to the instructor and to the student. And it has allowed us to start bridging a gap with, lay responder and some of these more advanced training scenarios. So the Series 2000, we just completed the offering really this month. Well, actually, it was April.
Right.
So now we have an adult, a female, infant, child, and a Pro Plus. And we haven't talked about the Pro Plus yet, which I realize. So I will mention that now. So a year or so ago, we offered a new head design. This was originally designed for an international need in Germany, where they give breaths actually over the nose. They needed a fully functioning nasal passage. And so you'll notice the nasal passage on this head is larger,
Mhm.
and the design is very different. If you know Preston, you know
Mhm.
that you feed the lung bags through the mouth, right? And down through the chest, you lift the skin. So this is different. We open the head here, just this. And then you can just take a lung bag with this little adapter. It clicks right onto there. Close the head. And then it just goes on to any Preston professional mannequin. So you
Right.
don't need to buy a new torso. You can just buy a head and you can upgrade. What's been interesting is while we launched it for Germany, there are a lot of applications we're finding for it internationally. So we expanded the offering, and we're seeing a lot of people, well, some just simply really like the ability that you have to have a complete seal on this nose to be able to
Mhm.
see the chest rise and give a good breath. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. But with the size of the nasal passage, we're seeing a lot of people using this now for Narcan training.
Mhm.
There are a lot of nice Narcan trainers out there. They fit right up into this nasal passage, and it's more realistic than what they were having to do before, like kind of just put it to the side of the nose or whatever. I've also
Right.
seen it used. We were talking before how we see the infant used for, like, labor and delivery scenarios or babysitting or new parent classes. I've even seen this used in seizure training where they're applying like a medication through the nasal passage. So it's interesting. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and people find ways to use the products in ways that we would have never guessed. And so that's why it's so important for us to kind of constantly be out there in the market, understanding how our products are being used and where those opportunities are to continue to develop and support all the needs out there.
Definitely, because see, I think also that ACLS head, I mean, the head might also be good for ACLS, when you're talking about your airway.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. So right now we have no issue getting the NPA,
Mhm.
and so that's what we're marketing it for. With a little lubrication, the NPA goes right in there. We even have seen people getting creative and using certain sizes of an OPA.
Mm.
So I believe they're more like pediatric sizes. So we haven't gone out there with a full marketing campaign, but it can simulate the in training that process of using an OPA. So it does. We're getting closer and closer to really understanding that. And as we look ahead, Preston is always looking at, where do we go next? What do we need? Where are the gaps? How can we support, the industry? And so we're always looking for that feedback. And ACLS and, mannequins and an offering in that space is definitely something we'd love to hear more about from you and from others. That if you have an opinion or, have unique needs, we'd love to hear from that. So that is always something we're looking for.
That is true, and I think, and that is so, as a consumer, it is so, I think, I really value the relationship with Preston because it's cool that, to feel valued. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Conversation, communication we have is just so awesome that, you feel valued, in these support groups, in these, emails, in these focus groups. It's like, hey, my feedback is, it actually
absolutely.
matters.
Yes.
And for me, it's cool because like I said, here I was running around, um, and I can't even now I'm starting to be able to tell the difference, but I've got my old school Preston bag, I
Yeah.
got gray ones,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Preston mannequins, other than like maybe now some of the texture, I might be maybe just because I'm detail oriented and maybe looking for the details, and
Yeah.
because like I said, I don't have a huge training center,
Yeah.
my mannequins weren't beat to heaven and back,
Yeah.
people, and then the way I store my mannequins,
Yes. Yeah.
um,
Yep. And
I
clean
think
them and maintain them. I mean, you still want to go through all of those protocols for sure to keep
yes,
them. I mean, it's an investment. And we know that you as instructors, sometimes are working with tight budgets. And that's another, thing I want to mention is, every time we design something, when we bring a unique or new feature, we're always trying to find a way, like we don't want you to have to, no longer, you invested in all these professional mannequins and now we bring out a new head. We don't want
yeah,
you to have to buy a whole new mannequin. It's certainly available. But if you just want to upgrade the head, we've engineered it so that all you have to do is take off the old professional head, replace it with a head, just to manage the investment that you're making to be able to enhance your training. When we brought the adult Series 2000 to the market, we had what we called an add-on kit, which is still available today. But it allowed you products, I believe, was manufactured after 2018. If you had a professional mannequin app, so yours wouldn't work because I think you're from like 20 years ago, right? But
I got both. I got them from both. I got them from both.
okay, so your mannequins 2018 and newer, you can
Mhm.
upgrade them to then have the Series 2000 capability to connect with the Bluetooth app. Unfortunately, due to the design limitations and what we had to do to bring the child and the infant to a Series technology or a Series 2000 technology level, we're not able to offer upgrade kits for those. It was way too much,
Yeah,
changes that you would have had to make, and it wasn't something that we wanted to put the hands in like the everyday,
right.
instructor. But for the adult, those things are there. One other thing you talked about was the skin color. And so I personally, I mean, I've been with Preston now 6 years. I have never personally seen them, but I've heard about the gray mannequins. And so there was a reason and intent behind those many years ago, to represent, we know that as people aren't getting oxygen to the brain, color of the skin is going to change, right? And it can be alarming. And again, that was part of the realism and getting over that initial shock of what you might be dealing with. The click in the chest, I hear a lot of people say, are ribs gonna crack or am I gonna break? Yeah, you are. And that's okay because ribs heal. They want to survive. And so those things over time, we started to get feedback that, people weren't liking the gray. And so we brought different skin tones to market. And so we've, as you know, today we have medium and we have dark skin. And through the years, several years ago, we started to create what we call diversity kits.
Mhm.
We wanted to give those options as well. If I'm a new instructor and I'm investing, I want both in my classroom. Now we
Yeah,
hope that people also are looking and saying, I want both female and male
the
in my
man,
class, right?
yeah.
So it shouldn't, there shouldn't be a disparity in the classroom. We're trying to represent realism and, everybody, deserves a chance for survival. And we know the statistics if we aren't training on, a range of genders and races and ages, we're going to hesitate because we just aren't sure of ourselves and what we're going to do in those situations. So,
And I think people also look forward to coming to my classes because, um, I make them fun, and I
yeah,
enjoy mannequins, so, I guess they do too. And then they
yeah,
role play. And yeah, I definitely enjoy the different colors. And what I was gonna say about the durability, going to know, I didn't even realize that because yeah, I have mannequins. They're all my mannequins aren't the
yeah,
classic, if you will. And I think I personally didn't have the I think maybe when they first came out, you could get with the lights and without the lights?
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we did. We had feedback and non-feedback, and for a long time, we had both those options. We did
Yeah,
eventually eliminate the
yeah,
non-feedback in the professional line, because those guidelines came out, and we actually had the lights in the design prior to that. So that
right.
was a great time for Preston. Really getting our product out there because I think at the time you know we were the only option, to move too quickly. And so we had that. So over time, the sales just obviously went down on a product without feedback. There was
Yeah,
really no good need for it. However, with the ultralight line, when you start thinking, and this goes back to the trends, what we're seeing. And so, right now, and for several years now, there's been an initiative around hands only and just creating awareness. And, you're not looking to get certified. Um, you know, Obviously we still want people to understand you press hard and fast at the rate, and we've got all the songs and we've got all those things to help people understand it, but the ultralight line can come without feedback. And it's a good fit again for just awareness and getting it out there. And if you're doing mass quantities, some parts of the world also, feedback isn't necessarily required, or maybe it can't be afforded, for that extra feature. And so that offering is still there. The ultralight is with and without feedback, but we kept that on the more affordable line and eliminated the non-feedback with our more advanced lines.
wow, thank you for reminding me about that because I think because, I've been teaching with AHA for so long.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It was like, and like you say, my all my mannequins. But what I was going to tell you was that they're all, you can barely tell the difference between
right.
my old mannequins and my new ones. The design,
Okay.
like you said,
Yes,
not changed
it
much at
has
all.
not changed.
Now, like, only through discussions with Preston representatives like yourself or through the focus groups was I maybe able to, like I said, like discern, like, okay, well, this, you remember there was an upgrade with the babies, this
Yes,
material was a bit clean
yes.
or clean. I personally, I still enjoy my classic babies
I
with their,
know.
their
There's a handful of people
um,
that love the old design, handful of people that love the new. We know we
they're
can't
both
please
great.
everyone. We try to do the right thing. I will tell you, there was a product design, like a reason we did that.
Yeah.
The old material was staining. So our blue bags were staining the arms and legs of the infant. And we would hear, people, this is an investment. They don't want blue stains on their cute little baby mannequins. And I'm sure you got an example. Yeah. So, yes, there it is.
With the little tattoo. But
Yes.
yeah, the outfit's so cute though, with his little booties
Little
on.
booties. We saw people, they were putting little socks on the mannequins very often. You see them dressing them in onesies. I love the shirt there that you got, the little onesie. We've got shirts, and we've got, again, because that is part of the guidelines. Remove the clothing. Sometimes we forget about that. You're not gonna go up to someone and, they're exposed. Like, you're going to have to remove clothing, sometimes cut off a shirt or a bra. And so that is, something that we want to, keep. And I love to see that you've got your mannequins there with their Preston clothes on.
Right, right. Yes. Well, and before Preston offered clothes,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna show them, but I do have the baby Ann's in sleepers.
Yeah.
We all do
Yeah.
put sleepers and
Sure.
t-shirts on them. But of course you're not cutting a t-shirt every class.
Right.
Able to I don't know where this cough is coming from. But being able to, you know what I mean, at least simulate, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
I mean, these babies are so cute too. Especially again, I'm not, any mannequin that helps somebody learn to save a life
Yes.
saving skill is an awesome mannequin. So I want to say
Yeah.
that I'm not bashing
It
any.
also, I will just add, just, so people understand why we did it. We think every detail through, just, so everyone knows. And we do get input. We reach out to the focus groups, the people that we have relationships with. We're always looking to grow those groups. By changing those limbs, we were able to bring them here to the United States as well. It was kind of the last missing piece for our full training mannequin line to be officially made in the USA. And so that allows us to now have a mannequin that is domestically supplied. We don't have supply issues. We don't have to worry about tariffs. It's more within our control. And so we look at that as a good thing for you all as instructors. You're not going to, if you need mannequins, you should be able to get them, quickly within your standard lead times. We're not going to have to worry about. So those were some of the reasons behind that change.
I love it. And another thing that I didn't think about when I was first buying the mannequins, but having the products made here in the US gives me a certain amount of comfortability that
Yeah,
materials that are being used are not going to aggravate my skin.
right.
Sometimes some of the plastics and other products that come internationally,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but sometimes those seem to break me and maybe other people.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that is a great, I thought even just, being able to maintain the product,
Yeah.
with the material, that was good rationale for us because,
Yes.
you spend, um, you know what I'm saying, a good amount of money on, on your Preston. That's why I can say I always, I guess maybe, I was proud to get them. So I kind of
Yes.
like around. I was hurt when, I think being in Florida, you know what I mean, and not manning the heat,
Okay.
uh, of the battery. So I was happy to find
Oh, yeah.
some of the parts from one of the distribution MCR Medical.
Okay.
I can just replace those because
Yes, you can. Yeah. And that's the other thing about Preston. We didn't get into a whole lot of the detail, but just know that again, when we design, we're always looking, how can we, this is an investment. You don't have to buy a whole new mannequin if your monitor goes bad. And so you can get replacement parts. Whether it's the monitor, the face skin, or, we've heard somebody breaks an arm. I don't know how these things happen, but we'll hear like someone broke the arm off my baby in a class. It's like we can work with you, work with our distributors is kind of your first go-to. And we have warranties in place as well. We've got a 3-year warranty on all of our products. I will tell you, it's very rarely needed or used, but it is there again to build that confidence in you as the instructor, the investment you're making in Preston. You know that within reasonable use and all those types of things, the product is warranted by us and obviously our distribution network. So we hope that that builds confidence and just shows our commitment to the
It
industry.
definitely does. Somebody, one instructor I know, I think I read, she she ran over her mannequin on accident.
Yes. Oh
Mm,
no.
helped her out. Mm,
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yep,
Good, good.
yep. Babies, one with, one without. So
Yes.
here, the other thing, I was going to mention, um, and I hope, we kind of maybe alluded to it a little bit, but, with the AHA is coming out with new guidelines in
Mhm.
October talking about, how, you have the globe, how with women and, the disparities and, we kind of were talking about that global kind of,
Yeah.
differences and cultural differences. One thing that I think I'm interested to see if the training videos from the AHA will include female representation. If it
Yeah.
give a whole disclaimer in there about, due to cultural sensitivity, excuse me, and stuff globally, things are often shown on male mannequins.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a change. I will have to say, we've seen things, and it's great. I mean, we now see, there's an AED manufacturer out there that has female anatomy on their AED pads. It's great to see the industry moving forward. We hear, instructors like yourselves and others that are kind of out there, kind of
Mhm.
leading the way, being advocates, saying, my goal is to have a 50-50 split in my classroom of male versus female. And so we've built kits now since the original launch that allow for that. So we have what we call like a take two kit. So you get
Mhm.
two adults, one will be male, one will be female, two infants, and two trainers, AED trainers. And so that's kind of like a nice all in one kit. If
Yeah.
you're a new instructor, I mean, if any new instructor, I would imagine now would be wanting to have a good representation, and you can get that in a diversity kit. So it's mix of skin tones, it's mix of anatomy, and you've got a whole set there, a solution that is truly helping with realism in the classroom. So that's the goal. Yeah.
Definitely enjoy the, what I mean, the educational empowerment. What I mean? And even I guess just it's funny to me, like, wow, look how far we've come. Like now I don't have to get baby clothes or, you
Yeah. Yeah.
create, a very realistic environment. And
Right.
even with I am excited about the head. Although I'm so weird, I don't want to have a out of sync head and body, like, because that happened before and it always drove me crazy. But now with the Narcan trainings, because I'm getting
Yes.
Oh,
It's
wow.
becoming more, I mean, originally here in the States, I mean, honestly, even within the last several months, this happened about a year ago, we brought the head to the market. And in the US, it was like everybody was starting to use Narcan. And when we talked to folks in Canada, it was like, no, it's not really, we're not doing that. Now we're hearing that they are. So it's just a matter of time until that's part of, everybody's training as well. It's something that people need to be aware of, and making them feel comfortable with how to use it. And if the mannequin can help facilitate and make it realistic in training, then that's why we bring those things to market, to be there. So we try to be ahead of
Yeah.
things. And again, like I said, sometimes we don't even know what they're going to be used for, and then
Right.
once we understand it, if we can modify it and improve it, we're all ears. So we've got product managers, we've got development teams here, and then, I'm kind of the eyes and ears to the market, along with some of the sales folks that we have here. When we get out to these events, we bring the ideas back into the organization. We have conversations about everything we hear from you all. We've got nice long lists of all the things we want to do someday. And, we have to prioritize those, obviously. But the more feedback we get, the closer we'll be able to deliver those ongoing improvements, ongoing investment, continuing the technology advancements. We want to truly be a one-stop shop for everything CPR, AED training related, as far as your equipment goes. And so, again, you're the folks in the classroom. We want to support you, and we just encourage that feedback to come through our team.
Oh, yeah. So, right, like, and we got the bag on wheels.
Yes, Bag on Wheels came from all you. So if you mentioned Life Saving Summit. I was at a summit, and it became a hot topic. We like bags on wheels, and you start to explain why. And then we start to envision, like, we get out into the market and we go to these classes and we see people hauling bags and bags and bags of mannequins. And some of them are heavy. I mean, a 4-pack of professionals, it can hurt your shoulder, and then people having to lug them upstairs. We hear all these stories. And so, yes, we did, with the introduction, obviously with the ultralight, the 12-pack, anything that's got like bulk and is, heavier than, I know the development team has a certain, number. But moving forward, they'll be on wheels. We brought an instructor kit to the market a year or so ago. You got the instructor kit, and it's a really nice starter kit, but it's big. It's got 2 adults, 2 infants, 2 trainers, all kinds of accessories, the bag valve mask, all these things.
Yep.
So we put that on wheels, and you'll see more and more products like that from us. Trying to come up with these unique kits that help support everything you're doing, like an all-in-one solution. And for sure, wheels, again, it's just funny. It came right from a conversation with instructors. So
And it makes such sense because I previously that was always a thing. Like, what
yep.
I have 2 large suitcases
Yeah.
that I put on wheels because I'm like, this is crazy. You
Yes.
can't feel your shoulders,
Yeah.
lugging the mannequins, trying to keep everything. And then my instructor pack has a separator in it.
Yeah.
Put your AEDs and
Exactly.
my mother, I also still have my mother cut knee pads for us out of, she got some sort of store, and it's great, right? But that's from years gone by, and I love it because my mom made it for me. They are
Yes.
too, but they're crooked a little bit. So they're
Okay.
so I was really thrilled about the knee pads and the
Yes.
instructor.
Yeah.
I just look whenever I see like all these spreads and I'm with you guys on social media when you're doing like all these like trainings, I see all I just chuckle because I
Yeah.
think of all the years that
Yeah.
I've been walking around
It's
these, like, and now it's like look at all this, just look at all
It's
this.
amazing, and honestly, I live it every day, and I've only been here 6 years. There's so much more history prior to me, but in the time I've been here even, it's amazing to me how far we've come. To hear the conversations in here about where we're planning to go, it's so exciting to be able to have these one-on-ones with someone like you, and now, this platform you're creating to spread the, awareness, spread the conversations, encourage others to reach out to us. We appreciate that so much, what you're doing. It's so valuable, and I feel like so needed right now. So thank you again for doing this. It's been great for even me to kind of go back and reflect. It's like, it's really exciting. Yeah.
Right, the why we do. My only suggestion right now might be, and
Yeah.
this is only because, and maybe I'll just get the ultralights because um the other thing, well, with the larger ones, well, first of all, you talked about the ultralights, which are great. I've been to the warehouse, so I've seen that.
Yeah.
But you're right, as you know personally, I'm
Yeah.
kind of traditional. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
but these things have a little bit of girth to them. But
Yes.
when you're teaching somewhere, I always like to lay my mannequins on a particular surface because I don't like the backs of their heads to get scratched up.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about hoodies, like maybe think about a
Little
hoodie.
hoodies. Okay, I like it. I definitely like that idea. We'll
You know,
definitely take that to the group.
definitely take that to them. So,
I will.
um, well, geez, Lindsay, I've enjoyed you so much. I know I've used so much of your time. Have we? Let's see. We've talked about products. We've talked about our inspiration. I mean, for why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Are you able to tell us? I know you kind of had a little bit about where you might see you going. I mean, I know there's some stuff that's under wraps, but are you
Yeah, I mean, we are always talking about what are we gonna do next, and I'll tell you, it's the full scale from, it's a full range. We have a lot of products right now, I'll be honest with you. We've put a lot out into the market over the last 2, 3 years, and honestly, sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where someone like yourself's like, I use the Preston Professional, I always have. If I need more mannequins, I just reorder, from my distributor. But there's still a ton of people that maybe don't know about some of these other offerings, whether it's the ultralight line or it's more the advanced, feedback that you can get from the Series 2000. But I can say we have a whole list of priorities. We have brainstorming sessions. We have a roadmap going out, the next 3, 5 years. But the way that we're going to figure out what we're going to do, it is your voice. It's the voice of the instructors. It's the focus groups. It's, getting on our mailing list. Follow us on social media, reach out to us. We want to talk to you because, we can sit here all day and come up with all the good ideas that we think would be, needed in a classroom. But until we have the conversations and validate like what we think you're doing and what we think you need, that's what we're looking for. So there are some launches coming later in the year. I can't say what they are yet, but
well,
I think they're going to meet needs, gaps in the industry or in the portfolio even today that I think you all will be excited about. Again, just to help you run your businesses
yeah.
efficiently. Whether it's cost efficiencies. Just being able to deliver the service that you're providing in the classroom. And then we really hope, I mean, there's still so many new products we've launched. We're really focused on pushing that female mannequin and creating awareness. And then the new Series 2000, again, we talk about pushing hard and fast, but a lot of people don't understand recoil. And so you can be pushing as hard and fast as you want, but if you're not allowing for proper recoil, the blood flow isn't getting to the brain. We're not keeping the oxygen flowing. And so, those are the benefits and the things that are out there that I think we can keep adding new products to the, portfolio, but there's so much opportunity to get some of these newer things that we've released in the last couple of years out into the hands of the industry and get your feedback. But we are working on a few things that you'll see later this year, and even into next year that are actively being worked on right now.
Wow, you're right, because you guys have had so many, launches. Let me ask you, I do want to ask a couple questions. Now,
Sure.
let me ask, can you get the new head on a mannequin? Like,
Yes.
can you already buy it with a mannequin? And can
Yeah. So there's a Pro
it
Plus
be a
mannequin.
female?
Yes. Yeah, you can. Well, you can also pair them, change them around. So, if you already have like a female, you can add the Pro Plus head. Um, yeah, we have the abilities to do these things. We also, while Preston has some kits available already, we also see our distributors doing some unique things, kitting. We always encourage them, to do some of these things too to add value. And so, there's keep your eyes and ears open. I think, some people are running certain campaigns, and you just want to make sure that you all are following that and you know what they're doing, again, to just try to get these products out there.
Um, Good. So yeah, because well, I was asking for myself because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
on ahead and yeah, I only have the girl and my girl who identifies as a girl.
Right. So the female mannequin currently, we started, honestly, we just started with the female alone, a single and a 4-pack. We did that when August, September of last year. Just in February of this year, we introduced a handful of additional offerings, kits, and a few other offerings. But keep an eye because as that product continues to evolve and get out there, we'll continue to expand those offerings where they make sense, where the demand is. We think about, we have to be careful about putting too many products out there because we expect our distributors to stock all of these things so that when you order, you get them quickly.
Right.
We want to make sure that we're putting products out there that you all want and need. And again,
Yeah.
that it's good to hear that that's something that you're interested in. It just kind of helps reinforce where we need to be focused and what products we need to be thinking about getting out there.
Yeah, and I do want to focus more on I see now, I understand a little bit because as somebody who's been using the professional line
Yeah,
for a while, when I got the Series 2000, I was like, "Oh, it's cool," but I haven't really gotten the groove to work it into, but now I see like going places from the Life Saving Summit, what you can't measure, you can't improve.
that's right. Yes.
Be able to measure some different things and whatnot, and it's, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
so I see how that definitely could be an added, added
For
teaching.
sure. And so that product is a requirement now in Canada if you're teaching heart and stroke. They came out, I think it was 2021, February of 2021. Recoil is part of their guidelines, and so that product is a great fit there. It's not a requirement, right, of AHA. Maybe it will, maybe that'll change here later this year, but it's definitely an enhancement and something that, to your point, like, what you can't see, you can't measure or improve. And so I think it's important. And what we've seen here in the States, while some people have converted fully over to the Series 2000, we have seen quite a few folks that'll have like maybe one or two Series 2000s in their classroom. And so the vast majority of people are learning the skill on the professional, adult that we've had forever. And then maybe they go and like learn a little bit about recoil and making sure, and you can see that on the app. It's real time as you're doing your compressions. And so that instructor can say, hey, you're too deep. You're staying too deep. You need to rise. You need to let that, recoil happen. And you can see how far you're going. And so again, that's that muscle memory, just the awareness. And so they might just have one or two Series 2000 mannequins in the classroom to do that. And that's maybe what you're ultimately like tested on or, evaluated on, but you're learning the basic compression rate and depth and all of the other, professionals.
So now, because I teach about recoil, I mean, it's interesting to hear you speak it like that. I'm not sure how it's different in Canada, but I definitely, and I thought now, and obviously I'm not the Preston expert, I just am an advocate or a fan. But we always are striving for double green, but then
Yeah.
what's the orange? What's my orange one? My orange and
It's
yellow.
based on the rate, the speed, and we have all of those, matrices on our website if you wanna kinda see whether you're going too fast, too slow. So you can tell people, and I've seen it, like, they're kinda staying like deep in the chest, like,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like
what
they're doing
I always do it by, yeah, by
quick little
sight.
things. It's like, no, you got to release. And so you can say release until there's no, resistance, I guess, in the chest, let it all go up. But I think it's more impactful and empowering when you see how far you're going. You can see your
Yeah,
2.0 inches and, you're kind of staying, deep. You need to come all the way up and there's a bar that goes up and
yeah,
down to show you recoil. So it's just added information and the ability to visualize,
yeah.
what you are doing. Some people are like, I am coming all the way up. And it's like, no, you're not.
And at the Life Saving Summit, we have that, the compression off or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
See the wave. So I definitely, and to the teaching point, I mean, although I love my presents, I know green is good and red is bad.
Yeah.
So if they were doing anything else, then I would, I kind of coach
Yeah.
off or off,
Yeah.
like, no, you know what I mean? You're flipping, you know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
kind of tell what they're doing. So, um, I hadn't thought about it. I have to say, I do need to go ahead and check out the website and see what that,
Check out our website. Yes, we keep it up to date. We have a whole, oh my gosh, the catalog has been hard to keep up with because we keep bringing so many new products. Check out our catalog. It's online. You can download it, and then it's more for awareness. So you know what your options are. And again, maybe you're not going to switch your whole class to Series 2000s, but having a couple of them is great. And maybe you're not going to switch all to, ultralights, but if you're starting to do a lot of community awareness events and you don't
Mhm.
really want to haul, especially you down in Florida in the heat and the some of the tight spaces, maybe you don't want to haul all of those professional mannequins around. You can roll up with 12 ultralights and a small pack of 12 infants and you can train all day long, people coming by and whatever. So, they have their place, And we're seeing more and more of that. Like people are sticking with their tried and true Preston professional mannequin, lights in the shoulder, click in the chest, but they'll have a kit, maybe a take two kit of the ultralight and, maybe a couple of series 2000s just to round out what they're doing. Cause, needs change and audiences change, right? Sometimes you'll even get lay responders who are really invested and want to understand like more about CPR, and you can pull out the series 2000 and they can understand recoil and deeper. Some people simply, it's so interesting. We go to some of these awareness events and people, you try to get them just to stop for awareness and learn hands on the chest, hard and fast. And they resist. They're like, oh no, I'm good. I'm good. I learned CPR in high school. I'm 50 now and I'm good. It's like, no,
It's
come on, just
fine.
try it. Get your hands on the
Yeah.
chest. And so, that's where I feel like the ultralight is a great opportunity, getting it out there and just get your hand. It doesn't need to be overkill. It doesn't need to be the full anatomically, and there are a lot of anatomically correct, features obviously in the ultralight, but it's smaller. The chest is smaller. Obviously, the infant doesn't have its arms and legs. Some people don't like that, but that's why the professional line is there, if you want the fully realistic option. So I say all that just to say, there is a reason for everything, we do, all the products we have, and it's all come from conversations with instructors to meet
And I
their
have to
needs.
say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no, you're good.
It totally seems, like there was another set where I was not used to ultralight style mannequins, and I
Yeah,
think this is before you guys came out with your line.
yeah,
Um, I was teaching for a job, and the mannequins were just like a chest,
uh-huh.
and like
Yes.
the heads collapsed,
Hmm.
and they have a lung. And I wasn't a fan, but it's what they had. They were lightweight. You did get 12 of them in a bag.
Yeah,
But well, I won't say I hated them, but I was not a fan. And I did used to, well, because I teach for myself, like, well,
yeah,
yeah, sense and whatnot. So it was cool to see a more realistic, lightweight version. And I have
right.
me and mom talk about it a lot. And I mean, it's
Yeah,
going to be part of my repertoire because as I'm lugging these around, but I do miss my arms and legs. But I think a lot of the babies just look freaky. Like there's another line where I hadn't looked at their product line in a while because you get kind of in complacent, and it's like you say, I use my professional Prestons, you just order any Prestons, you have your distributors, you just go with it. And I went to the website, actually for the series I'm doing, and I
yeah,
was just like, oh, huh. You know what I mean? Like a little startled, like, so it's funny.
yeah. Yeah,
Again,
it's important to us. We want to keep them as real as possible. Again, just kind of thinking through the reason behind that. Like, we want to, emulate what that experience would be like as best as possible. So, you feel like you're learning this on a, the next best thing to a human is, we think, this version of Preston. But, again, we are always open to feedback and, would love to hear if people feel otherwise. Good, bad, anything in between. We're here. We're here. So we see some fun things out there on social media. It's that's another thing that's really changed through the years, even since I've been here. The use of social, we stay pretty active on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, all the traditionals. We see some fun things out on TikTok as well. So we love it. Please, like, I'll just kind of throw that out there. Tag us anytime you or anyone else watching this. Tag us. We want to see what you're doing with the mannequins. I can't tell you, multiple times a week, I'm seeing fun things out there, unique ways our products are being used, and sharing that here within our organization. We love to see, everyone in I mean, you met the folks, I think, out in assembly and operations, they love
there.
to, they can't get out like we get to get out. And so
Yeah.
they love the opportunity to interact and see things. And we share that on a regular basis in our quarterly meetings and when we get the whole group together, and they love that. So keep doing what y'all are doing.
Tell
We
them I said
appreciate
hi and I love them.
it. Yeah. We appreciate all the support of Preston. And again, reach out. We're here to build relationships and, continue to support you all.
Which reminds me, I'm gonna be in town in July, so I'll definitely
Good.
have yeah, I'll definitely have to come by.
Good. Let us know.
Again, yes, tell them I said hello because again, I know it's like so dorky, but it's cool to know. It kind of makes me feel like, although I wasn't alive during this time, it makes me feel like a nostalgic time, like when you used to know your grocer, you used to know your butcher,
Yeah. Yeah.
your banker, you
Yep.
had a doctor for everything. It kind
That's
of makes
right.
me think about a time where, because I never would have thought when I was toting to the beach and my little, with my pressing mannequin thinking I got a mannequin with lights, I'm the super CPR lady. I would have never thought that I'd be hanging out with the president and with the
Yeah.
director of global marketing. Like, I know titles are just titles are
Yeah.
titles,
Yeah.
but it's so cool to actually know the people behind the product. And
Yeah.
like you say, when I was at the warehouse, they like everybody was happy. Uh,
Yes.
it makes me feel like it's a place that people want to work. Uh,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And when you're happy at work, like even the quality that goes into your product, you're gonna have things that line up well. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're gonna have a
Absolutely.
lot of, there's gonna be attention to detail when you're happier at work. And so see, I
Absolutely.
look at it like that. So I like also the companies that I like to support. I like that they're, more like that they support my beliefs. It makes you feel good.
Yes. Yes.
So this is just really a cool opportunity, and to be able to work on something like this to, as we continue, educating about CPR and some of the
Yeah.
tools that allow me to do what I do and explore some of the history and
Yeah.
some of the whys of what. So yeah, and that was one thing I have to say. ChatGPT, although we got technology, she was off because I you said something about that Preston Products started, but they sold like CPR related things and
Okay.
mannequins. And I'm like, it was like really late. And I'm like, it's not what? How would
Um,
I know
the
that?
only other thing that we haven't really talked about is like the training accessories or consumables. So like lung bags, we do the masks, we do the valves, the one-way valves, we do like the knee pads that you talked about, things like that. But yeah, everything we do, it's mannequins, AED
It's so
trainers.
interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So I told you got to watch her sometimes. She's
Okay.
really
Well,
accurate. But I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, I would have known that.
yeah,
Me
yeah.
thinking I'm a Preston Products historian, like I would have known.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I just love what you guys are doing. I know that I've used a lot of your time, so I will relinquish your time and let you stay. It's probably time to eat some food. Um, yeah, he's so cute, my buddy over here. So I'm looking forward to some of the stuff that we've got coming up in the
Yeah.
future. And,
Yes.
maybe even you've answered a lot of my questions. I know that I'm sure everybody was enlightened, and I look
I
forward to
hope so.
talk about in
Yeah.
the future. I thank you so much, Miss
Thank
Lindsay.
you. Thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity. And we really value and appreciate what you're doing and, creating this opportunity and space to have these conversations and spread the message. And we just encourage if somebody sees it, reach out. We'd love to talk to you. If you use Preston, even if you don't use Preston, conversations are valuable too. So thanks
Well,
for all you do.
thank you for all you do, and I look forward to talking to you
You
soon. So,
as well.
baby's gonna say goodbye. This one has an
Okay.
accent.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks again for listening. If you or anyone you know needs to learn CPR, first aid, or a life saving skill, please contact People's Choice CPR and Safety. From CPR to self care, the Wellness Pulse is staying in rhythm with your well being. I'm Monica Stevens. Take care.